Hinana ho ho hine, hinana ho ho hine, enteya. Hinana ho ho hine, enteya. Hinana ho ho hine, hinana ho ho hine, enteya. Hinana ho ho hine. Enteya, hinana ho ho hine, hinana ho ho hine, enteya, hinana ho ho hine, enteya, hinana ho ho hine,
Oh, you looked away. One more.
This is Rosalie Causa. She is making a jacket using twisted strips cut from the fresh winter pelt of the subarctic snowshoe hare. Rosalie is 87 years old. She is using a technique which has unknown origins from the past. This method of manufacture produces garments and blankets which belong exclusively to the native people of the Canadian subarctic. Garments made using this technique shows no influences or change due to contact with white people. These garments are not worn today. Rosalie is one of the last of her group to have this knowledge. Garments made using this technique are very soft, flexible, lightweight, warm, and long-lasting. This jacket is an example of Rosalie's work. Rosalie Causa lives in the Northwest Territory of Canada. Fort Providence on the MacKenzie River just west of the Great Slave Lake is where she makes her home. Rosalie is a member of the Slavey group of the Athabascan or Dene people. The western subarctic is thinly populated as shown from this view from the air. It is filled with woods, lakes, and rivers. Rosalie Causa was born in the bush near the Horn River in the vicinity of Fort Providence. She and her people live in wooded areas of birch, poplar, willow, pine, and spruce trees. They caught fish, a favorite being whitefish, and hunted small game animals such as beaver, fox, lynx, marten, and the snowshoe hare. In Slavey, it is called gah. In English, Rosalie and her family call it a rabbit. Hareskin garments are made of strips cut from the freshly skinned pelt of the snowshoe hare, which has thick, white fur during the winter months. In March, the hare starts to shed its winter coat and change color to tan. For this reason, all hare fur garments are made during the cold months of the year. Rosalie remembers a past time in the bush when she was wearing snowshoes to check snares and walking on the icy Horn River. Today, getting to Fort Providence from the south means taking a bus from Hay River. In the winter, crossing the MacKenzie River towards Fort Providence is done by going over an ice bridge. The ice bridge is made each year when the ferry boat is taken out due to the deep freeze of the MacKenzie River. Repeated floodings and freezing of the river for several months prior to the deep freeze produces the smooth surface of the bridge. After crossing the ice bridge, the road to Fort Providence follows along the river. The first view of Fort Providence reveals that the town is laid out along the banks of the MacKenzie River. To get to Rosalie's house, we follow the river road, going past benches where townspeople can sit during the summer and watch the mighty MacKenzie flow by. We then come to Our Lady of Providence Catholic Church, a favorite roosting place for the ever-present raven. Here we turn left and go past Home of the River People, the Gakut Inkwe, the old people's home. On the other side of the road is one of the town ice skating rinks. We approach Rosalie's home, which is one of the oldest houses in Fort Providence. Rosalie lives with her husband, Jean, who is now blind, her son John and his wife Florence and their children. Rosalie has 23 grandchildren who visit her often. Sitting on her bed, Rosalie is continuing her work on making the hare fur jacket. Her tools are her hands and a willow branch. In Slavey, this technique is called kahvetsit. In English, the technique has been defined as loop netting by Dorothy Burnham, the Canadian expert on textile techniques. The entire process of making hare fur garments is done by hand, starting from acquiring the snowshoe hare to the finished product. Throughout all of the steps in making a garment, the only tool occasionally used is a knife. The other tools are the understanding of the natural environment, the knowledge of the limitations of the snowshoe hare pelt, ingenuity, and women's hands. The first step, acquiring the snowshoe hare for its pelt, is done without guns, traps, or clubs. In time past, Rosalie took care of the snaring and the skinning of the hares. Now she has given up snaring, and her daughter Rosie, Canadian, sets the snares and collects the hares for her mother. On a cold, bright February day, Rosie leaves Fort Providence to go into the bush and check the snares for her mother. Her son Julian and her niece Mona drag the skidoo through the woods towards the Snai, a small rivulet running off the MacKenzie. They cross the Snai in the skidoo. On the far side of the Snai, they leave the skidoo and walk into the woods. Snares are set where there is evidence of snowshoe hare tracks in the snow. Presence of these animals is also indicated when willow branches which have been stripped of their bark are sighted. Willow bark is a favorite winter food of the snowshoe hare. The snare is a circle of brass wire which is tied to a spruce branch and placed touching the ground in the center of the hare tracks. The hare walks into the snare and is unable to escape because the more it struggles, the tighter the snare becomes. Rosie finds a hare in one of the snares. She takes the hare out of the snare and puts it into her bag. Rosie sets a new snare by finding a fresh branch, and on this she places the brass wire snare. Having checked all of the snares, Rosie returns to Fort Providence in the skidoo with Julian and Mona. They cross back over the Snai. The winter sun goes down at 4:30.
We cut the arm first.
Rosie is a very hard worker, work that her mother has taught her. She strongly feels that this art must stay alive and be carried on. Therefore, she is quite faithful in snaring the rabbits for her mother.
I pass it, Tilsy. I tear it along that. Because at this vision.
Having completed the skinning process, Rosie hands the pelt to her mother. Rosalie is going to start at the nose end of the pelt. She begins by cutting off the feet and the ears. She sharpens her knife by running it against her scissors. Rosalie begins making the long continuous strip of fur.
Your mouth gets swollen?
No.
아빠 기왕이야가니 가을에 새 에이체 장대에 에이체고 꼬든 에이체 가있어 사람은 가는데 빠지는데 어머 뒤허우지.
She remembers making a hair fur blanket for her husband Jean, which lasted for 40 years.
It's a hole in it?
It's here.
At the end of the long strip, Rosalie makes a hole with her knife. Placing a willow stick through the hole in the end of the first strip, Rosalie twists the strip in a clockwise direction. This makes a continuous twist in the first strip similar to the spinning of fleece.
These sticks joint. She did something.
At the end of the twisting, she makes another hole in the end of the first strip. Rosalie makes a double circle of the long strip and doubles this again.
다시 간대할 수 있는 게 있어.
She had that, when she cut that rabbit. She made a hole there.
She places the willow stick into this 4-strand circle and twists it counterclockwise.
That's Dene. So Dene kan de sølerne, de kan de skynde kun. Da. Så Dene de kan de. Så det ka. And then also so can
By doing that, it's good to
Rosalie will leave the twisted strand on the willow stick, cover it with a plastic bag, and leave it outdoors overnight to prevent it from drying too fast. Using the first strips which were prepared the day before, Rosalie begins the loop netting process, which will form rectangles of fluffy soft cloth which can be latched together in various ways to make jackets, pants, and hoods. She starts with a willow stick 136 centimeters long, both ends bent slightly in a bow shape. A firm nylon cord is stretched between the two ends and tied. Starting at the left, Rosalie attaches a first strip onto the cord, making use of the holes at either end of the first strip. This is a demonstration using non-fuzzy strips to show more clearly how it is done. She begins the looping technique by inserting the first strip downwards under the cord. This demonstration duplicates Rosalie's looping motions. Rosalie repeats the looping until she reaches the end of the row. At the end, she does a variation loop, turns the stick around so that she will again be working from left to right. Again, this demonstration shows these steps more clearly using non-fussy strips. Rosalie does the first loop in the second row and inserts a piece of cloth for a marker. Rosalie works the second row, making loops which go through the loops in the first row. This demonstration duplicates working the second row. Rosalie takes a drink of kimchi too. This is a tea which is made by boiling willow bark. She drinks it to relieve the pain in her back. When Rosalie uses up a first strip, a new one is added on as in the beginning when she attached the strip to the cord. This demonstrates adding on a new first strip to the end of the old one. This loop netting is continued until the desired rectangular shape is formed. The piece is removed by untying the cord attached to the willow stick. For a jacket, Rosalie uses 40 hare skins and makes 3 separate rectangles. This demonstration shows the shape of the rectangles and how they are lashed together. The sleeves are added after the body of the jacket is formed. This is done by looping around and around in a continuous circle from the armhole outwards. For the pants, Rosalie uses 30 hare skins and makes 1 large rectangle. This demonstrates how the rectangle is lashed together to form the top part of the pants. The legs are formed by looping continuously around the leg holes. The hood using 6 hare skin is made from 1 rectangle. This demonstrates how the rectangle is lashed together to form the hood. Rosalie Causa, maker of white fur clouds. She understands the limitation of the snowshoe hare pelt, which is very thin and tears easily. The ingenious method of using strips of twisted skin and fur as yarn and looping them together produces a long-lasting garment or blanket. Using whole pelts of the hare to make garments or blankets would soon tear and quickly show signs of wear. Rosalie's family is proud of her abilities and her independent spirit. However, they are of a new generation, a different time, a different place. They face new and different life decisions. They do not have the knowledge of making garments from the fresh pelts of the snowshoe hare. With Rosalie, this tradition will end.